I remember having a lot of anxiety about sharing that thought with my colleagues. Like the very first person I told was Monica Long, who was at the time our head of communications. And I basically just like took her into a meeting room and I was like, so this is going to sound a little weird because, our whole thing is that we want everybody to connect through the XRP Ledger, but
Hey, everybody, it's Eddie from Tokyo. This is your cryptocurrency update from Japan, and I'm going to share a clip from this very under the radar video podcast with the former CTO of Ripple. Yes, smart contracts with Codius is alive. Is this the technology that's coming to the XRP mainnet? Bitcoin handled the Tether FUD like a champ, of course. The regulators, they're always scrutinizing Tether. What's new? It's their job. And they also work hand in hand with the regulators. So if they wake up on the wrong side of the bed, yes, I think anything can happen. But for today, we're back over 69,000 and things look very promising. This might be the push over 70,000, which will be a big psychological move that we are all waiting for because the spark can be everything we need to pour some fuel into this bull run. And while some people focus on the FUDsters, we've got a brand new announcement coming from USD Tether, and it is they are going to be on the Aptos mainnet. Aptos is quickly getting into payments, even cross-border payments. They've completed 1.7 billion all-time transactions, and this is a brand new chain. They recently set a record with processing 326 million transactions in a single day, along with an unprecedented 2.1 billion peer-to-peer payment transactions within 24 hours. Wow. USD Tether, it's going to be a boon. First, a quick follow-up on the news of R3 looking at all their options. Yes, they could be looking for a buyer. One of the most logical places to look are all their partners. This is quite a list. And there is one on here that stands out for me. I'm going to take a shot at guessing who might come to their rescue. It is going to be here, HQLA. It is associated with Finality. Finality is the cross-border liquidity payments company, and there's another component to this. And yes, this company was mentioned when the news broke. It is Adhara, because we've got the Finality International that's integrated with HQLA and Adhara. I think there's going to be a final solution that has these two entities working together. And XDC, the digital asset, along with the entire network, has no impact at all with what R3 does because they don't have any business with R3. They use the open source Corda blockchain. Anybody can use it. And so this case where the SBI XDC APAC entity was formed and they're going to use the digital asset for trade finance payments. No, this news with R3 has nothing to do with them at all. Yes, because of the DEX, the AMM volume is exploding, and it's because of these memes. Daily volumes are 40 times what they were a week ago. Incredible. Yes, it's been a huge uptick, but the trading volume has really been declining. You can see the market cap is still downtrending, and we are yet to see signs of a reversal. So I think what this means is that we do not see any fresh money from outside. All of the volume is generated by current participants. Yes, I have participated. My token was one that was experimental, fully 100% experimental. The volume is 0. I'm not promoting it. It was the 73rd token to be launched on their network. But then yesterday, I played with taking a little bit of a chance with the ATM token. And how could you not? Look at these 24-hour percentage increases. Yes, this is what attracts the kind of gambler spirit inside everyone. I went in and I went out in 4 hours, and yeah, I came out ahead, and I'm a happy camper. I had a good experience, but I know, be careful out there. And brace yourself. We've got another platform that's going to come, and it's called Soon. It's going to have meme pools, AI integration, airdrops, NFT launchpad, and a holiday season. I'm not sure what that last point is. However, on Wednesday, we should get all the details. For all you ETF fans out there, we've got some news coming from SBI Holdings in Japan. They've put together a group of participants. I think there's about a dozen of them that are making recommendations, including a system reform to be able to allow crypto ETFs in Japan. Within the documentation, you can see that they've made a case that some cryptocurrencies have a market capitalizations comparable to large cap stocks and can be said to have the market capitalization necessary for a wide range of citizens to invest in them. So they're making a case. They've used the top 10. You can see from Bitcoin to Tron and everything in between. So I really hope they get that done. Chances are, with the participants that have put this proposal together, something good is going to change. Okay, let's continue with the clips that I took out of this 46-minute video. I believe I took it down to just under 9 minutes. Found all the gems that you'll love to hear with the former CTO of Ripple, Stefan Thomas, with his fellow researcher and Interledger protocol partner, Evan Schwartz. All right, everybody, do take care. Sayonara for now. Bye-bye.
Yeah, my name's Stefan Thomas. I kind of grew up loving writing code and worked as a freelancer, a web developer for a long time. And then I got into Bitcoin back in 2010 and got really fascinated by the idea of, you could write code that moves money around. And that has been my obsession ever since. Bitcoin didn't fully live up to that by itself. I think it's a great foundation, but I ended up joining Ripple, working on XRP Ledger, working on other blockchain technologies as the chief technology officer at Ripple. And as part of that, also created a research team, which Evan was a part of, and he'll tell you his perspective on that. And yeah, during that time, researching things and trying to figure out what are some of the missing ingredients to take blockchain technology and other existing financial technology and kind of bring it up to the level that we'd like to see, where everything feels really frictionless. That led to the development of Interledger. And so nowadays I am the chairperson of the Interledger Foundation, and I kind of work full time on open source code. I work on a project called Daci, which we'll probably get into later, and just trying to get Interledger out there into the world.
And my name is Evan Schwartz. I've worked as a software engineer for the past 10 plus years. Worked on a couple of different open source projects in general, like open source things. I've always wanted to be an inventor, and that's kind of the thing I love doing. So like coming up with new ideas for things. That included working with Stefan on Interledger and some other things after that. I had no prior experience whatsoever. I was just out of college and looking for jobs, and got introduced to Ripple. To be honest, was not particularly interested, but was like, I need interview practice, and so I'll take the interview anyway. And then read up on it, seemed kind of interesting, and then met up with Stefan for an in-person interview. We ended up talking for an hour and a half, and I was like, wow, this seems crazy. This is like a 14-person company talking about connecting the global financial system more. Like, that seems nuts, but also very interesting. And that was kind of how we started working together. When I joined Ripple, the company's whole mission was about connecting the global financial system more. And the idea was, if you can get everyone onto one ledger that supports multiple currencies and atomic transactions between them, then you could have global interoperability. And That idea, I think, was kind of in the zeitgeist at the time to some extent, though maybe a little bit before its time. And I remember at some point Stefan saying, I don't know if it's going to be possible to get everyone on one ledger, because like there was Bitcoin sort of started off the whole blockchain thing, but then a lot of other people came out with different blockchains with slightly different features. And I think like one of the things that I always give a lot of credit to Stefan for was like the company's whole mission was like, let's connect the entire world's financial system, let's connect everybody to this one ledger. And I think the way that I remember Stefan looking at it was like, oh, what if that's not possible? Is there a way to achieve this vision in a different way? And I think that was one of the kernels that kind of kicked off what became the Interledger project.
I remember having a lot of anxiety about sharing that thought with my colleagues. Like the very first person I told was Monica Long, who was at the time our head of communications. And I basically just like took her into a meeting room and I was like, so this is going to sound a little weird because, our whole thing is that we want everybody to connect through the XRP Ledger, but what if there were multiple ledgers and we had to think about how to connect them all together? And like, what if we changed our view and the XRP Ledger is just one of many, many ledgers? And that seemed initially very like counter to the company's goals and took us a long time to kind of figure out how it all fits together. But I think looking back, even with the original vision, you still have to deal with legacy ledgers. You still have to deal with bank internal ledgers and companies' internal ledgers. So the world has many, many ledgers and you need a way to get across them. So that was sort of inevitable, but yeah, it was very scary at the beginning.
Interledger is about routing money across different payment networks. So there's lots of different payment networks in the world. And the idea is to come up with a really, really simple way of sending money across them so that you and I could be on different payment networks and still send money to one another. I think that's the simplest way that I can put it. It's also worth adding that in thinking about the design for how to actually do that, we took a lot of inspiration from the design of the internet, which is also why the names are somewhat similar. But the internet is also about routing packets of data, not money, across independent networks. So I'm on a different internet service provider than you guys are, and that's fine because the internet just makes the connection happen in the background. And that's kind of the hope with Interledger, is that we could be on completely different payment providers and still be able to send money between one another.
Well, Codius is an interesting one because in some ways it's the sort of missing link between the blockchain era and like when we were working on blockchain a lot and the Interledger era. Basically, I was very interested in smart contracts. I helped start the Swiss meetup group for Bitcoin, which was one of the groups that like really dove deep on smart contracts. When I was working for Ripple early on, I was working on general purpose smart contracts. So Bitcoin had this sort of very minimal stack-based scripting language built in. And so we were thinking about like, what would it look like if you built like a general purpose programming language into a blockchain? And, somebody who was crashing on my couch at the time was Vitalik. So he clearly got somewhat inspired by that work. And so, that sort of evolved over time. And I think I got to a point where I was like, okay, why are we even trying to build all the logic into the blockchain itself anyway? Like a blockchain is this sort of thing where, as I mentioned at the beginning, you're running everything many, many times. And so it's very computationally expensive already. So why are you doing all of your logic on that layer? The way we do it in most software architecture is we have a database and then we have our business logic separate from that. You have a separate layer for that. And so, we started to think about like, okay, this was Evan and I back in the day as well, thinking about like, okay, so we have the blockchain, which is kind of our data layer. Well, what would a decentralized business logic layer look like? And that became the Codius project. And the basic idea is just, okay, you have these stateless systems. So they are not databases. And all they do is they run your code, but you can have many of them. And they then might make transactions against the blockchain. They might query some traditional API, et cetera. It's actually kind of a pretty simple idea. You just have this like group of nodes that does stuff for you. And that way you implement smart contracts in a more flexible way. But the problem we ran into very quickly was, okay, so we have this very neutral smart contracts layer, the smart contracts layer that's not tied to any particular blockchain. You could use it with any blockchain. You could use it across blockchains. You could use it across non-blockchain systems. But you kind of have to pay these hosts that are running the code for you. And you could pay them with a credit card or something like that, but that seems very clunky. Like you're trying to pay 100 different hosts with 100 different credit card payments of 12 cents. Like that seems very inefficient. And so I think that was partly what prompted the need for the efficiency that Interledger brings to the table. So I think Codius has always been this sort of idea that everyone's still very interested in. It still seems like a very good idea, but it's taken a bit of a back seat compared to Interledger because Interledger seems like the thing that you need to enable it. Currently, there is a bit of work going on Codius here at Coil. We haven't shut down entirely. We've, spun down quite a lot, but we still have some things going on. And one of those things is a new version of Codius. So I don't want to say too much yet because it obviously still very early days.